And welcome to another Primility Primer episode, another week of Primility Primer episodes, our morning reminder of the importance of balancing our pride and humility as we go about our daily lives. This is episode number 45. I am your host, Jared Morris. And today I want to just recount a story from this weekend. I should tell you, I'm not a handy person. If you know me, if you've ever met me, this won't come as a surprise. I'm not good at building things. I'm not good at making things. I will fumble around with a screwdriver just trying to unscrew something. Like, I am just not good at that kind of stuff. And I've never been good at it. I don't have a lot of experience with it. I don't like it. And so all of this has just kind of combined into this 34-year-old me that really struggles to build and or fix things. And as long as I was living in an apartment, this wasn't a big deal because there are property managers and there's people to do those things for you. But as soon as I moved into a house, as Heather and I did last November, the issues with my non-handiness became exacerbated. Now, early on, those first couple months, I installed a couple of bathroom shelves and installed some outdoor lights, some sensor lights, and I actually felt pretty good about those things. But I think it was kind of just that momentum, the early momentum of the first few months of home ownership, kind of drove me to do those things. And since, I'd kind of gotten away from it a little bit, in part just because I feel so unqualified and I have so little confidence when it comes to actually doing any of that kind of stuff that it really prevents me from even trying in a lot of cases. Even when I could go on YouTube and learn it and see tutorials or ask questions, I just don't, not as much as I should. And I should also say Primility Primer is being filmed in front of a live studio audience today. As Heather's here, and Rebel, you're not Chop Liver. I know that you're normally here, but got a nice studio audience here for the recording. It's nice to have you here, my love. So, by the way, I'm telling them the story about us ripping out the floors. so anyway, let's get back to the story. So Heather and I are having some work done. We're doing a remodel of a portion of the house, and part of that is ripping out the current wood floors that we have and replacing them with new floors. And if this were me, I never would have given it a second thought, would have let, the people who do flooring, and would not have contributed to that effort in any way because I wouldn't have even thought about it. And fortunately, I have Heather on my team here, and she, went through the estimate meticulously, line by line, found, and understood what everything costs to do, and found ways that we could potentially save on cost, which of course we want to do if we can. And her understanding of the estimate then combined with kind of this serendipitous moment. We were watching The Property Brothers on, was that the HG channel? HGTV. And really good show, actually. And in one of the scenes, one of the Property Brothers, the construction guy, he had a crowbar and he's ripping up some flooring. And he made it look actually kind of simple. It was one of those, it's like, hey, we could do that. And in that same episode, he was telling the homeowner, hey, if you want to stay under budget, if you want to save money, you may have to do some of this yourself. So the guy, he puts him to work, is ripping out flooring, doing this other stuff. And Heather says, why don't we do that? We could rip out the floors. We could do it. Privately, secretly, I thought it was kind of a crazy idea, but which I'm revealing to her right now in this moment. But and then I actually talked with the guy, with our contractor, and he said, a lot of homeowners, they think about doing this, they say they're going to do it, but they start and then they stop when they realize that it's not as easy as they think. They don't really follow it through. And but I started to think about it. It seemed like, hey, maybe we could actually do this. Why don't we try? And again, if it were just me, I never would have thought about it, and I certainly never would have followed through on it. And so I'm so glad, Heather had the thought and kind of had the motivation that carried both of us through to do this. And so this weekend, we're both here. We had some time. We said, why don't we give this a try? And so we went to Lowe's and we bought crowbars, and his and hers crowbars. And so there was a little spot where a piece of wood had already been pulled out in the corner. And so we started there and started ripping this wood out. And it took us a few, a couple of tries to kind of figure out, A, how crowbars work, and then B, how this was going to work to kind of split the wood and pick it up. And it came out easier than we thought, actually. But quick word of wisdom here, if you're going to do this, after about 10 minutes of this, we just rampaged through, ripping up all this wood, and we're taking stuff up. And Heather kind of started to notice kind of a weird smell and like a weird taste in the air. And of course, doing this just brought up all kinds of dust mites and dust and everything. And the air quality very quickly was not very good. So we ran back out to Lowe's, got surgical masks, put the surgical masks back on, and came back and went to it. And we finished one whole room. And then we're like, why don't we just keep going? And so we finished the whole rest of the front of the house, and then came back the next day, did the whole living room. And so now we have one room, the room that I'm in right now. We haven't done the office yet, so it still has the wood floors. But basically every other non-carpeted or tiled room in our house is just the concrete. And it clearly it looks hideous. I mean, you'd never keep it this way. But I have to say, every time I look at it now, I have this feeling of pride. It's like, we did that. And it's this thing, this activity of removing this wood, right? That to me seemed like such a foreign thing for me to do, because I'm just, as I've told you, I don't even consider that something that's within my realm of ability, because it seems like something that you hire people to do. And which again is part of why being a homeowner has been such a humbling experience, because I have felt so powerless when it's come to doing so many different things. But now, having done this, having this feeling of pride at, hey, this is something that was going to cost us hundreds of dollars. We saved the money. Plus, we had fun doing it. We learned a little bit of something about how houses are constructed and how the flooring all fits together. And it was, it was kind of fun. And it's given me this different sense of confidence about, hey, doing things inside of a house, yes, they're going to require effort, and they're going to require some research, and you're going to have to, figure out the right tools to use. And you may fumble around at first, like we did before we went and got the masks, but you can do it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can still do it right. And that was a really important lesson, I think, to learn this weekend. And just this experience of ripping this floor out, doing it together, I think was great for my pride as a homeowner. And I'm hoping that pride, it will certainly be combined with a lot of humbleness and a very humble feeling when it comes to doing anything, because I will immediately know that I have no prior knowledge and will be an open book to having to go learn. But I think now I finally have that feeling of pride to where I can do it. And that was a great experience. And so whether you can relate to the story as a homeowner or not, you may be very handy and you may be thinking, okay, congratulations, Jared. Like you now have the basic feeling of what a homeowner should have, but at least I have that. But I guess the point of the story is, if there's something that you just feel totally unqualified to do, but yet you have to do it. And the responsibilities for me, for instance, of being a homeowner that I felt unqualified to fulfill, but I still have to fulfill them somehow. Sometimes it's just throwing yourself in there and starting and having a little bit of success, realizing you can do a little bit more than you think. And that can really just be the first step that you need to carry you through. So hopefully this story, hopefully you can relate to it in that sense. Now I'm just kind of looking around the house for other things that I can rip apart with a crowbar. Closet, she says, from across the room. Yes, maybe that next. All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Primility Primer. Thank you for listening. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow. We're always here with the live edition, primility.com/live at 6:30 Central Time every day. And then the podcast gets posted usually about 7 o'clock if this is your first time listening to us. And if it is, go to primility.com/join. You can get on the email list. I always send out an email on Monday morning. It's 250 words or less, a positive thought to get your week started off on the right foot. That'll be coming out around 7:30 this morning. And get on the email list, join us, and then join us for our daily episodes of Primility Primer. Appreciate it. I will talk to you soon. Wrist bump.